So you had like a pretty interesting last 12 months because last preseason, you requested a trade from Gold Coast to Freo, and it was looking like it was just about to get done.
Yeah.
And then it kind of just didn't happen. And then you ended up obviously being back at Gold Coast, still under a contract for a year. How did that all kind of pan out? Like, run me through that.
Yeah, it was an interesting stage for me. Like I said to the club, I really loved the club, loved everyone involved there, loved all the playing group, coaches. But it was just a decision for myself and my family that I thought it would best to get back home. But the club, as I told them that, they knew that I was still a contracted player, so there had to be a fair deal between the two clubs. And yeah, in the end, it didn't go through. But yeah, there was no hard feelings on the Gold Coast. I was still happy to go back there next year, but for myself and my football, I just really wanted to get home, and both parties knew that. But they just couldn't strike a deal at the last moment, which is pretty surreal because I was in the Mentawais on a surf trip, and I went out for a surf before just to get my mind off it. And then when we came back off the boats, I was with Luke Parker, Isaac Heaney, and Chad Warner, and we were all like, yeah, I could be getting traded here. And then, yeah, once I jumped off the boat, ran up and checked my phone, it was just like flooded with messages saying, oh bad luck, hopefully next year. So bit of a gut-wrenching feeling for me. But like I said, it was easy to know that I was going back to the Gold Coast with all my mates again. So, and the lifestyle it is over there. So
Totally.
It all made it pretty easy. But I suppose in that initial phase, that 24, 48 hours was all pretty raw. But
yeah, definitely.
Had to move on pretty quick.
And then from that season before, because you played 10 or so games. How many games did you play?
I think it was 12.
12, yeah. So you played 12 games a year before, and you're playing pretty well. Like you're getting possessions, really playing your role well. And then obviously that happens. The trade doesn't quite go through, and then the season just gone. You didn't play any AFL games, and you were the VFL the whole year. But you played a fantastic year in the VFL. So what was that like? I guess going back to Gold Coast, sort of getting. I guess you're not on the list each week. How were you dealing with that mentally, and how were you then able to perform in the VFL? And what was the mindset and the process behind that for you?
Yeah, I'd be lying if I said it wasn't hard, but at the start, it was. I felt I was getting looked at differently. I wasn't, but like for myself, I just thought that. But I had lots of good mates there at the Gold Coast, so they were all getting around me, and the coaches I worked with are excellent as well. Like Reece Shaw and Josh Drummonds were the two I worked with closely, and they were awesome for me. But I was really lucky as well that my girlfriend moved across with me as well, which was huge.
Just good to have someone over there as well.
Yeah, good to have someone with me for the whole year, which was massive. But that initial phase was really difficult. But then as the year went on, I suppose it got a lot easier. And like you said, we were super fortunate with the VFL to have such a good year because I suppose that brought the fun out of it. That brought the fun with it, I suppose, winning all the games and finishing the year off with a medal around the neck. It was awesome.
Huge, yeah. And I guess it's sort of like, you have to think that everything kind of happens for a reason and falls into place sometimes because the actual Gold Coast AFL team didn't particularly do well that year. Last year didn't particularly do very well. So the VFL side did so well and you were part of that great success. So I'm sure that was probably nice to be a part of. How are you kind of able to, I guess put it aside that, oh, look, I'm not getting selected for the games and, I'm maybe not going to be in the side next week for whatever reason and still perform at a higher level for the VFL? What was your sort of process and thinking behind that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I just had to stay consistent with my process. So some weeks I thought I probably could have been in, some weeks I probably didn't deserve to be in. So I suppose I had to be consistent with my role. And like you said, the AFL team did struggle at times. We also played a lot of good footy as well. So, I suppose sometimes I did deserve my spot, sometimes I didn't. But I was lucky with the coaches we had. They just kept it simple with us. And because we were playing such good footy in the VFL, it wasn't like it was a chore to just go play VFL. It was actually really enjoyable. We had such a good group. So it actually made the season really fun. And because the AFL team wasn't doing as well, we still were. So we were creating our own vibe and winning games of football, which was good.
That's good. And who played well for the year in the VFL?
Charlie Constable, he was a standout throughout the year. Ned Moyle, Elijah Hollins, Chris Burgess, Marbiel Chol. Yeah, we had so many stars. We had a star-studded team, and it seeked the rewards. A lot of boys ended up getting trades this year, so they'll be probably playing AFL football next year, which would be good to see.
So good. So yeah, I mean that must be quite a hit to the VFL team, obviously, because there's probably some guys that have moved around now.
Yeah, for sure.
Not quite getting that spot, and they've gone from killing it. How many games did you win? Did you drop any or?
Yeah, we ended up. I think we dropped 2 games for the season and then won them all. Yeah.
Did you have any real standouts yourself?
I had a couple of good games. Yeah. I can't really think back now, but yeah, no, I played a little bit of good footy, which was good.
Good. And then how did all the stuff end up for the end of the year? So you've come off the high of winning the VFL Premiership, and then obviously there's sort of talks with Freo, and Freo's still trying to get you, and how that's going to all work out.
Yep.
What was that all like? And was it sort of like any relief getting it done finally and coming back home and getting to Freo, or was it still a bit like, you've been at Gold Coast for your career and you've got all these mates there and that sort of thing? How difficult was that for you?
Yeah, well, I suppose because I was out of contract, and I wasn't offered a contract by that stage. I think most of the playing group and the boys would have known that I probably wouldn't have been there next year. So, which was always hard, but like leaving such a good club that you've grown up with since you were 18 to then leave it after a VFL Grand Final, it was really nice to leave on those sort of terms. But the friendships I won't ever forget, and we got so many good memories with a lot of my mates over there. But yeah, I suppose after we won the Grand Final, I shot straight back to Perth the next day, and then went off to Europe, just take my mind off footy. Went with my partner, and obviously went for 4 weeks, and then while we're over there, my manager was still in talks with Fremantle, and I was still all over that as well. So, that said a few things. It was all like a bit confidential, but then I suppose the last couple of weeks now we've got a bit of indication of what's going to happen. So, it's exciting to see what's going to come.